Good evening. I'm Whiskey Mike.
And I'm Keeper.
And this is NPN. Tonight, we are tracking a nation at a critical boiling point. From the boardrooms of Wall Street to the frozen streets of the Midwest, the status quo is being challenged on every front. In Washington, a populist push to cap credit card interest rates has triggered a black swan warning from the banking elite, setting up a generational battle over the American wallet. Meanwhile, in the Twin Cities, a historic general strike has brought commerce to a standstill as faith leaders and citizens demand an end to federal enforcement operations. We also take you to the front lines of national security, where a digital joke has led to federal charges in an Anaheim courtroom, and to the streets of Los Angeles, where international political tensions turned violent in the heart of Westwood. This is the pulse of the country tonight.
President Trump has reignited a firestorm on Wall Street, doubling down on his true social crusade to end what he calls a national ripoff. With an average credit card interest rates currently soaring past 21%, the administration is framing a temporary, one-year 10% interest rate cap as an essential lifeline for struggling American households. While a self-imposed January 20th deadline for voluntary compliance from banks has already passed, the White House has since pivoted to an aggressive legislative strategy, with the president now throwing his full weight behind a rare bipartisan alliance uniting with Senators Bernie Sanders and Josh Hawley to codify the 10% ceiling into federal law. The banking industry, however, is sounding a massive alarm. Speaking from the World Economic Forum in Davos, JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon delivered a blunt assessment of the plan. He labeled it an impending economic disaster. Dimon warned that a 10% cap would make it mathematically impossible for major lenders to price risk, potentially forcing banks to cut off credit for up to 80% of Americans. Analysts at JP Morgan have further cautioned that everything is on the table if the bill passes, including the immediate elimination of popular cashback and travel reward programs to offset the projected billions in the lost interest income. As the Big Five banks dig in for a legal and legislative war, a new front has opened in the fintech sector. Ankur Jain, CEO of the rewards giant Bilt, surprised the industry this week by voluntarily launching a new line of card featuring a 10% interest rate. Jane's logic is simple. If a credit card rate cap is going to happen, we'd rather be at the forefront. The move has already put traditional lenders on the defensive, providing a powerful talking point for politicians who argue that if a $10 billion startup can make the math work, the global banking titans can as well.
A historic day of truth and freedom brought the Twin Cities to a standstill this past week, as a massive multi-faith mobilization challenged the federal government's Operation Metro Surge. Despite a brutal sub-zero deep freeze with wind chills plummeting to negative 25 Fahrenheit, an estimated 50,000 protesters took to the streets in what is being called the first major general strike on U.S. soil in 80 years. The mobilization wasn't just on the streets, it was felt in the economy. Organizers from the March Coalition reported that more than 700 businesses, schools, and cultural institutions statewide closed their doors in solidarity. From theaters in the North End to local cafes in St. Paul, the economic blackout sent a clear message to Washington. The Twin Cities are rejecting what local faith leaders describe as a military occupation by federal agents. The heart of the movement lies in a rare, nationwide contingent of over 1,000 Unitarian Universalist clergy and lay people who traveled from as far as Vermont and Colorado to join the local resistance. The heart of the movement lies in a rare, nationwide contingent of over 1,000 Unitarian Universalist clergy and lay people who traveled from as far as Vermont and Colorado to join the local resistance. The escalation reached a breaking point at Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport, where nearly 100 clergy members were arrested during a peaceful sing-in. The group occupied airport transit areas, demanding that commercial airlines immediately cease cooperation with deportation flights. This wave of civil disobedience follows 2 weeks of mounting grief and anger. The protests were sparked by the January 7th fatal shooting of Renee Good and intensified significantly after the death of ICU nurse and activist Alex Preddy, who was killed by federal agents on January 24th. The March Coalition, a multiracial, pro-queer group, is now calling for the immediate withdrawal of ICE and Border Patrol agents from the state. The tension has also ignited a firestorm over university campuses. Student activists are now spearheading the Fourth Amendment business movement, pressuring local companies and landlords to sign pledges refusing federal agents access to private property without a judicial warrant. As Operation Metro Surge continues nationwide, the Twin Cities have become an epicenter of a legal and moral battle over the limits of federal reach in America's heartland.
Federal authorities have taken a 22-year-old Anaheim man into custody following what the Department of Justice describes as a series of graphic and chilling death threats directed at Vice President J.D. Vance. Mark Antonio Aguayo was arrested this week on charges of threatening a successor to the presidency, stemming from a high-profile security incident at the Disneyland resort last summer. The investigation centers on a series of public comments posted to Disney's official Instagram page on July 12, 2025, while the vice president and his family were staying at the theme park. Federal affidavits reveal that the post claimed pipe bombs have been placed in preparation for the vice president's arrival and warned of imminent bloodshed. The Secret Service and FBI acted immediately, using digital forensics and records from Meta and Google to trace the IP address directly to Agawo residents in Anaheim. This arrest, Agayo reportedly told investigators that the posts were intended as a joke. However, Attorney General Pamela Bondi issued a stern rebuke of that defense, labeling the incident a horrific reminder of the dangers public officials face. Bondi emphasized that the administration would deliver swift justice to deter what she described as deranged criminals. If convicted, he faces a statutory maximum of 5 years in federal prison. Federal prosecutors are using this case as a landmark warning to the public regarding online conduct. First Assistant U.S. Attorney Bill Isaili stated bluntly, "Let this case be a warning to anyone who thinks they can make anonymous online threats. We will find you and bring you to justice."
A peaceful protest demonstration in Los Angeles took a terrifying turn this Sunday when a U-Haul box truck accelerated through a crowd of thousands in Westwood neighborhood. The incident occurred near the Wilshire Federal Building, the epicenter of a massive march in support of the ongoing uprisings in Iran. Bystander video captured a harrowing scene around 3:30 p.m. as the vehicle surged through a dense pack of protesters along Veteran Avenue, forcing demonstrators to dive for cover as others retaliated, smashing the truck's windows and mirrors with flagpoles. Despite the high speed and the size of the crowd, the LAPD reports a narrow escape from tragedy. At least one person was struck by the vehicle, but authorities confirmed no life-threatening injuries were sustained. Paramedics treated 2 individuals at the scene for minor injuries, both of whom declined transport to a hospital. The driver, 48-year-old Kalar Madanesht, was swarmed by an angry crowd before LAPD officers formed a skirmish line to take him into custody. The vehicle at the center of the investigation was draped in highly specific political banners reading, "No Shah, no regime. USA, don't repeat 1953, no mullah." This messaging, often tied to the National Council of Resistance of Iran, references the 1953 U.S.-backed coup. While the motive remains under official investigation, Madanish claimed he was staging a counter-demonstration and alleged that police had waved him into the protest area, a claim that LAPD leadership is currently reviewing with skepticism. Due to the political nature of the target, the investigation has escalated beyond a standard traffic incident. LAPD's major crime detectives are now leading the probe with direct assistance from the FBI's Joint Terrorist Task Force. Despite the gravity of the scene, Madanish has currently only been booked on a misdemeanor charge of reckless driving and was released on his own recognition. As international tensions continue to spill over into American streets, authorities are urging student organizers and activist groups to increase coordination with law enforcement for all upcoming demonstrations.
As we've seen tonight, the lines between digital rhetoric and federal consequence, and between local activism and global politics, have never been thinner. Whether it's the fight for economic relief at the checkout counter, or the struggle for civil liberties in our city centers, the landscape of 2026 is being rewritten in real time. As these legal and legislative battles move into the coming week, we will continue to bring you the reality behind the headlines. For all of us here at MPN, thank you for joining us. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and we'll see you back here next time.
No, I want to do that again. I didn't like that.
Okay.
I didn't like that.
Back up. Well, I guess that answers the question. If a bear poops in the wood, does anyone know?
Yes.
See?
The bear.
The bear.
Nationwide contingent. A peaceful protest. just
Protest isn't even in there, as I just mic spewed.
yeah. That's definitely the word on the board. I could have just swung through it. I was
going to, but you stopped.
Report of ongoing uprisings in Japan.
You saw Anne. You totally skipped over Iran.
It's Iran. I'll introduce you to something.
Yeah.
Narrow escape from tragedy.
Despite
Tragedy.
the high tragedy.
Carlo can't read that because I waited too long.
It's Le Fin.
Finn!
There you go.